Welcome back to Flipping Pages, Stirring Sauces. If it's your first time, thank you for coming. If it's not your first time, welcome back. As I said before, this is a very unusual name for this platform, but I'm passionate about cooking and baking, and I'm passionate about reading and writing, and very passionate about being a mother. And as I said last time, we're featuring a book written by my sister Deneace Green called Spiritual Messages Channeled Through Me. Yes, this book was written by her, and we are featuring it here. And it is available on Amazon, and she has given me written permission to feature it. And last time we left off at the channeler, and so we're gonna pick up at the channeler and continue. Sitting at my desk in front of my computer, I am positioning myself to channel, eyes closed. All I see before me is red, with black and deeper red. Wow, black. There is black with more black, calm black, coming at me, but not reaching me, pulling me into the calm of its swirl, yet keeping me at a distance. I got off the phone about a half hour ago and immediately realized I did not ask the psychic the question that led me to contact her in the first place. Are the dreams coming from my dad? When I considered that I had almost a month to write the question, and that it never found its way to my fingers, and that the instant I got off the phone, it popped into my head, I must conclude that the question was really not my reason for seeking an answer. The need to have the question answered was not what led me to Kim O'Neill. What led me to Kim O'Neill? The need for someone to give me some directions along my spiritual path is what led me to her. I know that I am a spiritual being. I know I was placed here on earth for a reason. Well, angels, if I am here to write for you, if I am here as your messenger, you have my fingers. What do you want me to write? In all my writings, I have never hit a roadblock. I have never been short of material about which to write. It is interesting to me that Kim said I would be writing for others, telling their stories. I have never told her that was my plan for my not-so-distant future. How would she know that? That is indeed my goal for my house in Jamaica, a place for people to come and tell me what they want to leave behind for future generations. How would she know that? How would she know, word for word, what I think? A place for people to come and tell their stories. Every time I think about that place, I am glad to know that this is my last time on earth. I am also glad to know that I have enough time to do my work. 50 years according to Kim. Channeling for others. Best-selling books? And I, Deneace Green, am an angel? Given my impatience with mankind and my inability to fit in with them, this, my being an angel, would make sense. However, don't look for any halos over this no-nonsense angel's head. Most people with whom I interact think I am strange. Some would say nuts. I am not at all bothered by the way I'm viewed, not bothered enough to try to change anyone's opinion or even say I am otherwise. I will say, however, that 3 psychiatrists, yes, 3 of the highest ranking in Canada, have assessed me and have concluded that I am normal enough to carry a firearm in the line of duty. You see, I work for the federal government of Canada, protecting a particular border crossing, and my firearm, like my baton and handcuffs, is just another work tool. And in order to get that ultimate tool, a psychiatrist had to give his stamp of approval. Additionally, a psychiatrist appointed by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police assessed me and found me sane. When I had applied for employment with the organization, a story told in My Thoughts, My Life, that is another book by Deneace, which I believe is available on Amazon. My Thoughts, My Life, Institutionalized Racism in Canada. Furthermore, when I experienced true heartbreak, told in My Thoughts, My Life, the revelations of Ai Anacho, again, a psychiatrist assessed me and pronounced me sane. The other night, a coworker, Abby, said to me, Deneace, why you? Why do they, people at work, sit for hours and talk about you? Why are they so interested in you? I understand now. I understand a lot now. They don't know me. Despite my writings, published writings, available for all to read, they don't know me. I understand now my stories cannot be about me. Otherwise, the work will not get done through me. I can still tell the stories, but they need to be about others. Tell it the way it is told to you through your living it. You can start with what is presented to you. Today, let them write themselves. In what a voice off to the right side of my head is telling me. Update. I am proofreading this material before submitting it to a publisher. I now realize this was not a voice in my head, but actually that of one of my co-authors, Deneace. Following instructions. Deneace, a spiritual healer. By following Deneace's instructions without question, I go from my dad, what was meant for me. How do I distance myself from my writing? What are angels going to say to me that could fill a book? What can they possibly tell me to write about, which someone who is more strongly attuned with the spiritual aspects of life has not already written? Wait and see is the answer I am getting. Channeling? Red, brown, black, whoa, blue, deep blue, black. Those are the colors I am seeing. Now I am being lifted up from the back of my head. Sun on the right side of my face. Pressure from my right eye towards the back of my head. Pressure pushing and squeezing my right eye. Pushing, unable to open my eyes. Trying to open my eyes. Dark. I am looking into a void of darkness. What do you want me to see? How can I teach somebody about things about which I really know nothing? It's not you, Deneace. It's your fingers. But it is not you. You don't need to be concerned with people thinking you're crazy. Your work is not about you. You are just the vessel, Deneace tells me. Why would anyone want to know about a vessel? They don't want to know about the vessel. They want to know about the work, Deneace insists. Channeling. Is that what my dad wanted me to do? Channel? Write a book on channeling? How do you write about that which you don't know? Well, I am about to be tested. I am about to write a book by simply channeling. How do you channel? I wish I knew. If I knew, I would just do it. Kim said to just sit at my computer and write. Channel. Channeling does not require research. The material is divinely given to you. Deneace enlightens me. I am open. I am ready. Sylvia Browne, author of many books relating to the relating to the paranormal, wrote about sitting and writing about things which she was seeing years into the future. She has now passed, and I am still here. I do not wish to take anything away from the value of her work. However, if people like her are here around me and want to help me, I am open and willing to take anything they have to give me, even if it makes no sense to me. I have 89 angels around me, according to Kim. When she said, "Deneace, you're an angel," I laughed. I am told that I am an angel in the flesh, a spiritual teacher, a healer, and a guide. I want to tell you what I'm experiencing right now. As I write, sometimes my eyes close, and images distorted circular shapes in vivid red and black. In the red, move in constant motion, as though flowing in space. I don't know what channeling entails, but if I am a channel, I don't need to be concerned with the details of how channeling works. Oddly enough, I don't believe one can learn these things from books, but I am writing a book about it. I am not here to teach anyone about channeling, but rather about what channeling shows me. Yes, I have revealed to people what I see for them. Yes, I can read people. I actually saved my own life by a message that the person who was going to kill me gave to me. We were in my basement. He was a contractor, a big and round Aboriginal man. I was near the only window in one of my basement bedrooms, and he was in front of the only door of the room. Our eyes met for a split second, and we both realized the predicament. He did not want to do it. He did not want to kill me, but he was being compelled. He talked to me without opening his mouth. Red, black, black, red, brown. If you don't get us out of here now, I am going to kill you. Let's go have a look at the kitchen upstairs, was what came out of my mouth. He agreed. As soon as he cleared my path to the door, I made a casual walk for it and kept walking with a purpose. I was already in the kitchen when he made it to the top of the stairs. His weight caused the overwhelming strip of the overhanging. I must apologize. As I said in my first video, you're not going to get perfection from me because I am not perfect. And so I will mispronounce words, and I will try my best to correct them. He agreed as soon as he cleared my path to the door. I made a casual walk for it and kept walking with a purpose. I was already in the kitchen when he made it to the top of the stairs. His weight caused the overhanging strip of wood on the top of the stairs to flex, and in turn caused him to teeter back and forth before he stepped onto the flooring of the kitchen. There he talked of his knees being bad and that he could not get down on the floor anymore to install baseboards. I wanted to get him out of the house, although the moment of his desire to kill me had passed. If my letting him have a piece of the baseboard I wanted to use, but he wanted to take as a sample, meant that he would leave my life and not return, then he was welcome to take that piece of wood he took with him. I knew he would not be coming back, and he knew he would not be coming back. Yes, I do know exactly what he was thinking, just as he knew exactly what I was thinking. For with neither of us moving our lips or our tongues, we were in full communication. This happened 5 years ago. Why have I chosen to tell this story now? Is this what channeling is about? There is more to this story. I had seen the man before. The night of the evening I looked at this house for the possibility of purchasing it, and had returned to my box of an apartment and had settled down to sleep. Still fully awake, I saw myself in the basement room, on a bed, in the dark. The man, along with another Aboriginal man who was taller and more slender than he, dressed for construction work, perhaps mining, implied by the flashlight on their foreheads, and carrying their lunchboxes from the 1920s, walked purposefully right through my room, along the unoccupied portion of my bed, and disappeared. They were clearly going to their construction work site. Keep in mind that the room is in a basement, which is not a walkout. Still, I bought the house because, in spite of it being an old house, I had sensed a peacefulness the moment I first entered the yard. Besides, it was a better alternative to the one that I had viewed a day before. The one where, upon my returning to my apartment, as I had closed my eyes to go to sleep, I saw blood running down a wall in the living room. It was what had kept me staring at the wall when the realtor, an older white man named Bill, was trying to bring my attention to the layout of the main floor of the bungalow. Yet it was not in the living room that the murder in that house occurred. Rather, it was committed in the basement. How do I know about the murder? As soon as the realtor and I turned off the sidewalk to enter the walkway to the house, I felt it through that knowing Kim talks about in her How to Talk with Your Angels. The realtor had invested his time to take me there. I knew I could not say no after the viewing. Now at the door to the bedroom in the basement, one of the two voices that have been talking to me from before I knew how to speak started speaking. Look at the wall. In that basement room was a young black Jamaican guy who, being not more than 20 years old, had made his bed a mattress on the floor with clothing and bundled bedding on it. I got the sense he didn't even know about the murder in that house, in that room. Shapes, black, red, black, black and red, black, are coming at me, zooming at me, but they don't quite reach me. Vanishing, blinking, out of sight just before they reach me. The realtor who took me to the house never mentioned that a murder had been committed in the place. The murder of a young black man about the age of the one who at the time of my viewing occupied the said room in the literal world. This knowing of what occurred in that house is a varied version of what was told to me by my sister Heather years earlier when she went house hunting with her husband. She so wanted a particular house that I suppose her psychic senses did not deter her. However, in the middle of the night, her husband blasted out a profanity and added, "Me nah buy that house. There, Ross, I'm not buying that house." Profanity. Disturbed from her sleep, Heather asked, "What's the matter?" He answered, "Every time I try to fall asleep, I see blood running down the walls. We're not buying it." That was how they made the decision to bypass a house Heather so wanted. Despite what I know to be true of the house, I purchased the house in which I now live. The construction worker in another realm walked through it to get to work. I chose to buy it with the determination that I would never sleep in that room. Never say never. Just last year, I slept in that room for 4 months and had peaceful sleep. I might add, black, 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 black is what I see. Calm black. I've seen other beings come through the door of that basement, including a bright light, almost as bright as the light I saw my dad standing in during his judgment before the light. He stood there with 2 others, whom I did not know had passed. One was his best friend, Brother Brian. The other was his best friend's grandson, who was brutally murdered a few days after his granddad's passing. His identity never registered with me until my sister Arlene made the connection for me almost a year after the fact. My dad left on a Sunday after saying, "I'm going down now." He lay his body down on his back on the living room floor of the apartment he shared with his wife, my mother, in Toronto, stretched his body out, and left. I was on a plane from Jamaica returning from an errand on which he had sent me, and I knew. I chose not to accept it because I wanted to keep him here. I believed I could still save him. Although I could see that he had left days before he finally moved out of his physical form. I could see he was already gone when he last looked into my eyes and said, "Go on, no." 2 days after my dad passed, Brother Brian lay on his bed, told his daughter he was leaving, stretched his body out, and left. My dad, Dai, and his best friend were both in their 80s and had been friends since they started making a life for themselves as young men, well before I came along. Neither knew that the other was so close to leaving, for one being in Canada and the other in Jamaica, and neither of them a lover of telephone conversations. They had not spoken in weeks before they departed from their flesh. Why did they travel so far in their early journey and then leave at just about the same time to stand in the judgment of the light side by side? I don't have an answer, but I saw them. In the light, they were young and immaculate, standing at attention, without blinking, looking up into the light that shines brighter than the sun. No orange, no coloring, just bright white. Bright, but not white. Channeling, Kim said. Channeling for yourself and for others. Did I channel for my dad in October 2012 when I told him how he would leave? I had visited him in Jamaica. We were watching documentaries in his living room. As usual, he drifted off into a nap, but soon jolted awake and becoming reoriented with his surroundings, as though it was shocking to him, as though it was not the norm for him to doze off when watching television. He said to me, "Oh, would you look at that? Would you believe I fell asleep? I fell asleep, you know." I could have sat there and just died. Same way, just like that. It became clear to me that he feared dying alone. It was not so much his fear of dying as it was his fear of dying alone. It was not so much his fear of dying as it was his fear of dying alone. Don't ask me how I knew. I knew it was just clear to me. Therefore, I told him, "You will decide when it is time for you to go. You will just lie down and follow the light. Just follow the light." I was not there to hold his hand as he followed the light, but I saw him in the light. Praise Allah. Each time I think about the events of that trip, I feel a depth of gratitude to an angel in the flesh named Linda Seats, for it was at her insistence that I used up some of my vacation time without further delay and went to Jamaica to spend time with my dad. Had I waited until Christmas of 2013, as I had planned, I would have missed out on all the blessings that I received as a result of spending that month between September and October 2012 with my guardian angel, who literally received me at birth. He received all 8 of us at birth. We were all born into his hand. I take comfort in knowing he was the one who dismissed me. Go on, now. Standing just inside his door, on his own 2 feet, behind my mother, opening his eyes wide at the closing of his mouthed but voiceless command, to let me know there was no room for me to hold on to the hope of us going there in July. opening his eyes wide to let me know there was no more room for me to consider waiting for him. Randy and my mother and even Worrell would ensure that wouldn't happen. His last days here were hell on earth. The experience still too painful for me to write. All that I want to write about his final days in the flesh. There is a bigger picture here, though, a picture that Kim put into perspective for me, telling me, you and your dad had worked together before in past lives. What happened to him was to aid you in getting your work done. Your work is about justice. It has always been about justice for you, Deneace, not about money. According to Kim, I have 89 angels. The eighth in 89? Is it a coincidence that I have 89 angels and 8 happens to be my favorite number? My new chapter of life, she said, started in January. It was in January that I unplugged my television and vowed to not plug it in again until I had written the test for law school, a test for which I have been studying on and off for years. Now she tells me law school would be a waste of time for me, that while the study of logic is always beneficial for one's intellectual growth, my purpose in life, that being writing, is properly served by focusing on my writing, but channeling, how do I do that and then write about it? Oh yeah, my fingers are just the vessel when channeling. Good, because I am not a creative person where writing is concerned. I cannot sit and make up a story. They just don't go anywhere in my head. However, if somebody, including angels, wants to tell me his or her stories, by any means, I am game. I feel it is necessary for me to tell the reader up front, in plain language, why certain elements of the following chapters in part 2 are presented as such. The language of today, used by storytellers, for example, the dates that do not appear to match the time period given to me, that is the 1700s, when the time period appears more like the 1800s, and the ability of an African woman to speak fluent English. Update. I would come to know that the first 11 black men who came to America spoke not only English but also several other languages, and they came because they were elites in their trades, and because of their specialized skills were turned into slaves. See Slavery and the Making of America, 2005, Part 1 of 4. The Downward Spiral. It is quite a sobering documentary of the wickedness of man. How does a channeler get her messages? I get a message and I write it as it is revealed to me, without my being able to anticipate the information that is coming. Perhaps if the material were given to me in the vernacular of old, I would not be able to understand it and therefore not be able to convey it to the reader. Language barrier is not an issue for spiritual beings. It is a limitation only while in the flesh. Regarding the dates that do not seem to make sense based on when the area was settled by Western Europeans, as simply the delivery vessel, I am being told to record the information as it was given to me. Therefore, if my angels introduce me to an African woman who speaks English, then she speaks English. Part 2. A girl on a ship. So now we're getting into the story of her past life as a slave girl. A girl is climbing up the side of a sailing ship with relative ease. I have seen her doing this 3 times in the last half hour and can no longer ignore her. I am still at my kitchen sink washing my dishes. But once I get done, I will follow her and see what happens. Was what I thought when I saw her do the same thing for the third time within a half hour. For the fourth time with a view of her from behind. Now I am sitting at my computer. She has just climbed out of an open sea. Her vertically striped light blue and white cotton dress is not wet. And now with a view from the deck of the ship. Neither is the bonnet covering her head, with the ties forming a bow under her chin. The year is 1709. Now, reader, it is up to you to use your imagination to picture an 18th century cargo ship. And if you can't picture one, then Google search for a picture of one. Don't worry, I will wait for you. The words will still be here when you get back. Promise. She's a black girl, 12 years old. It's a slave ship. She assumedly saunters past two white male slave traders on deck, who do not seem to even notice her. Presumptuously, she turns to look up at one over her right shoulder, and then turns to look at the other over her left shoulder. They still do not notice her. She walks between them and around them, making the figure 8 with her steps. She kicks one, but he doesn't feel it. She turns and kicks the other. He feels it, but unable to see her, he thinks it's just a sharp muscle pain in his shin. She stops and smiles as she makes contact. She stops and smiles. She has made contact with one of her murderers. Just hours had passed since the two men had thrown her overboard for disrupting a conversation of the same sort they are now having. She had been their lemonade girl and had mumbled her opinion about always having to wait until they saw fit to accept their drinks. Murmured about always having to wait on them, as if there was nothing else for her to do with her life. At her utterance of the word life, both men who had been ignoring her swung their heads towards her, and she had it, a nerve in each of them. The one who could not feel her kick made the first steps towards her. Life? Life? Your life? He asked. I will show you your life. You? He grabbed her by the back of her neck. Fear caused her hands to let go of the tray she was holding and bring her open palms up to her shoulders in surrender. Tightening his grip, he commanded his colleague, grab her feet. The colleague hesitated. She is my nigger. Grab her feet, damn it. All right, grabbing the little girl's feet. It's your money. Fright prevented the little girl from begging for her life, probably because she really did not know what was about to happen to her, probably because she did not realize she was about to be tossed overboard. Her skirt lifted above her head as her hands went up, trying to claw their way out of the sea that was pulling her into its depths. It was not long until she stopped moving, the sea alone now holding her hands above her head and her skirt covering her upper body, only her bloomers covering her lower half. As she swam out of the body and up towards the surface of the sea, her skirt went against her upward movement and repositioned itself to cover her bloomers. Her head popped through the surface of the sea, but she didn't open her mouth to take a breath. She no longer needed air. She took a moment to become familiar with the scenery of not really just open water. She took a moment to become familiar with the scenery of nothing, really just open water. And in the very far distance, she saw what might be the ship from which she was thrown. She swam towards it. Now she was on the ship, disturbing the men's conversation with a knowing that they have already done the worst they could to her. They had already taken her life. She walks over to where she had dropped the tray of lemonade and examines the mess that has not been cleared away, except for the metal tray which had been salvaged for further usage. She takes a seat on a wooden bench, secured to the deck. Her time is now hers to use as she pleases, or so she thinks. Hey! She turns her head to see a shirtless, shiny black man climbing on board. He shouted, "Be wet!" But he is not. Oh my goodness. No, I must be tired. He should be wet, but he is not. They did the same thing to me after I'd started rotting in the belly of this ship. He steps over the railing and takes a seat beside her. Look, I know you're not feeling much of anything right now. You're too young and too innocent to fully understand why they think of us, you and me, and all of us as just goods, flesh to be branded, battered, worked without ceasing, and discarded at will. We are free now, sister. Come. We have work to do, much work. We have to go feed our brothers and sisters below. They have to make it to America. In the loins of some of our brothers and in the wombs of some of our sisters are the seeds of great leaders who can change the situation of our people only by knowing the ways of our oppressors. Only by living amongst them will an atmosphere be created wherein a black African man will rule over America. We need to change forms so that we can ensure our brothers and sisters reach the shore of America in their physical form. He reaches over the railing and pulls up a bundle of fish. Come, my sister, let's go feed our people. Why should you bring them lemonade when our brothers and sisters are hungry, suffering in the belly of this thing? Although in plain sight to those who can see, the white men going about their business on board do not see them going about their business without fear. Who did you mean by all of us? She wants to know. Ah, realizing you haven't seen them yet, he tells her. She looks at him with the expectation of an explanation. He raises his chin, indicating, look, my sister, just to look around. The ship, the deck is filled with people, black people, beautiful black people, going about their business, and now each is acknowledging her with a variation of a nod, accompanied by a smile. Ah, her mouth remains widely open, and her left hand automatically moves to cover it as her eyes remain widened. There are more of us than there are of our captors, and our brothers and sisters are adorned with gold and wings and musical instruments. Then why? Articulating the words for her, he finishes her sentence. Are our people tied up in darkness? Yes. Why? No, my sister, we're not tied up in the dark. We are in the light. As our oppressors have chosen to put on clothing, to mingle in their world, so have we chosen to put on flesh and remain at the bottom of the social hierarchy for 800 years, to give every spirit encased in a white body a chance to redeem itself. The way they treat us will determine whether they move to a higher plane or whether they come back here to try again. They get 3 chances. Here, the one who felt your kick is on his last chance, and that is why he could connect with you. And the other one? She asks. It is his first chance. He is much too connected to his world to start tapping into ours. I think he will need all 3 chances. That is why they are business partners, to give one a chance to see how far he needs to grow, and the other a chance to see how far he has progressed. But my brother at home, when one person kills another by accident, he goes to Redemption City. But if one person kills another, as they did me, they too are killed by stoning. Did he not exhaust his chances when he did that act of killing me, as he knows death? No, my sister, you have much to learn. But for now, let's get on with our task, the task of feeding our brothers and sisters below. Well, there is my challenge. Well, there is my channeling for the day. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Was I the girl on the ship? Why was I able to feel what she felt while under the water? Why did I keep seeing her climbing aboard the ship before I started writing about her? Why do I feel so much calmer since I started writing about what she shows me? The cook is making us a delicious dinner, says the white man, who felt the kick to the other. What are you talking about, delicious dinner? It smells to me like the same slop we've been eating for the past 2 months. Just plain old boiled fish and flour. No, insists the one who suffered the kick. The cook obviously had been hiding the spices that he's using this evening. I can smell fresh herbs and spices in the air. That smell of perfectly seasoned fried fish. Sealing his lips together with his head tilted back to position his nose towards the sky, and with his eyes closed slowly and deeply, he takes a breath through his nostrils and holds it before slowly and mesmerizingly releasing it back into the air. You're losing it, you know that. You have been at sea too long, and now you're imagining things the natives fed you while you were on land. Where would we get fresh herbs after being at sea for 2 months? You see, while the people of this world prepare their food, the beings of the advanced world also prepares theirs. And being only one life away from a higher plane or a lower one, as opposed to three, the white man who felt the kick is privy to glimpses of other planes of existence. So where do they go if they don't make it to the higher plane? Asked the curious girl, as she drops another slab of well-seasoned and floured fish into the sizzling palm oil. He is patient in teaching her. I am sure you notice that everybody on this plane is like us, bronze, with their mortal eyes. They see us as beings of a much darker hue. They seek black bodies that lack the ability to reason in any meaningful way, bodies fit to surpass theirs in their manual labor. Yes, like we were in my village at home, replies the girl, pulling his thought back into their direct interaction. Some of our people were colored white before they transformed. He continues, white bodies have souls that are not ready to move into the higher plane. When they mature and are ready, they move to the higher plane and adopt bronze bodies that appear black. Some of the beings you see on our plane had white bodies before they made the transformation. Some had yellow bodies, and some had brown bodies. Someday, far away in their time, the white body time, all beings will have brown bodies. The little girl is now confused. But you said they get 3 chances only. Yes, I did. But that is when they have reached the stage of a white body. If they do not take the opportunity to evolve out of their white bodies, they go even further back near the starting line. They become trees. in very cold places, places where soft white petals fall. Petals that look really beautiful as they fall but are bitterly cold, not unlike the souls of the bodies who keep our brothers and sisters in chains in the darkness of the hull of this ship. These petals congregate on trees and remain there to give the souls of the trees equal measures of their coldness. I would rather be a tree at home if I had to be a tree. No, my sister, you were never on the path of being a tree. You've always been an angel. He continues to enlighten her. There is an alternative for some who don't even make it to the stage of a tree, that is becoming a ghost, the most tormenting phenomenon, and being cold ever endure. Ghost? You mean spirits? Looking for a place to rest? The girl asked. Yes, my sister, which is worse than being a tree, covered in cold, but beautiful white fluff, because those trees enjoy periods of warmth. As the seasons change, they get temporary reprieves for their misery, whereas ghosts get trapped in the misery of their making, season in and season out, looking for rest, but all they find are the memories of their deeds, and with a twist. What kind of twist? The girl wants to know. Well, he answers, while these beings are in their white bodies, they are not able to feel the pain of the oppressed, the pain of our brothers and sisters below. But when they become ghosts, they no longer see the oppressed as their object of contempt or as their chattel. What they see instead is themselves as the oppressed and the oppressor. This is simultaneously and without ceasing. They experience the pain of the afflicted as well as the evil perception they currently hold. Every cruelty they have done to a being in a black body, they now do to themselves, one after the other, day in and day out, without ceasing. Specifically, on this ship, the individual's white body will be chained to the belly of the ship. He will chain himself there, but he will also have the key to unlock the chain and release himself from bondage. However, the same mindset that causes him to inflict such cruelty on black bodies will also cause him to hold himself in bondage and treat himself as he does his current captives. I definitely would not want to be a ghost, the girl muses. I have to agree that being a ghost is indeed worse than being stuck in a cold tree. You need not worry yourself about any of that, because you were an angel before you decided to become a girl. You always were, and you always will be. My big brother, am I ever going to know your name? Ah, my sister, my name is Deneace. And yours? Ani is what my family calls me. She is distracted. Look, brother, they are throwing another of our brothers overboard. Deneace already knew of the body being carried by his brothers in bondage, so he looks without being surprised at the two black men with their feet and hands chained, but with enough slack to allow them to carry a substantial body as they moved to the orders of the two white men who followed them up the stairs to the deck, all the while directing them with the threat of the leather-tailed whips in hand. With the body swung overboard, the lash of the whip is a swift reminder that the intensified order, back, back, is to be obeyed without entering into the thoughts of retaliation. You will see him in a little while, sister. His work on the earthly plane is done for now. He will be having dinner with us, but we don't eat until we feed our brothers and sisters below. Dinner is ready to be served. A replacement black girl brings dinner to the two white men, who seem to spend just about all their waking moments on deck. Where is that savory fish that the cook was frying, demands a white man who felt the kick. The poor girl looks bewildered, knowing that she was doing the bidding of the dirty-looking and rather fat white cook, who prepared the boiled fish with nothing for seasoning except a little salt, but who nevertheless tasted the slop after each sprinkle, and at a stare as though he truly expected the flavor to somehow improve beyond what salt alone could do. You are losing it, I told you. You are smelling things, admonishes his companion, to the relief of the yet tense little girl, still holding the tray of salt for flavoring soup. Ani dreads going into the belly of the ship. In her prior form, her human form, she had once gone. Excuse me. Whoa. In her prior form, her human form, she had once gone into the dark tube of death and decay as the water girl, and was not able to fulfill that duty, dropping the water bucket and urinating on herself due to the fear of stepping into the dark tunnel of human waste, marinated black bodies stacked on either side of a very narrow walkway, and the stench. P.U. Brother, I can't go with you. I can't. I will die in there. Sister, there is no more death for you. He almost chuckles at her lack of awareness of her being. You are past that. Our brothers and sisters have chosen to make this sacrifice for a greater good. They have chosen this. Remember that. Why? Why would anybody choose to suffer so? Brother, why doesn't everybody choose to be white? My sister, have you already forgotten all that I taught you about evolving? When you swam up from the depths of the water, did you breathe any easier after you came to the surface than you did while coming up? She thinks for a moment. Actually, I never noticed any difference. She has another thought. How do you know I was in the depths of the water? Why didn't you help me? He pauses for a moment and then explains. I was with you. I was your guide. Did you notice that even while trying to crawl up through the water before you sank, you felt a peacefulness that you had never before felt? Yes, I did. I was your buffer. You were never alone. Now let's go. Her experience of being in the tunnel, lined with bodies is quite different this time around. As different as night and day, as different as earth and heaven. From no discernible source of light, the place is completely illuminated. Angels are everywhere, keeping watch over every single body, administering to them, spoon-feeding some liquid substance where they lie. The food Dureni and Ani brought is for the angels who will remain with their charges until their individual responsibility fulfills his or her purpose. The place is busy. There are choirs, there are prayer warriors, there are angels rejoicing, there are beings sitting up in a radiating light and leaving their lifeless bodies behind, clapping and rejoicing, recognizing angels in a realm that is obviously not unfamiliar to them, but rather a homecoming, and even with all the activity, there is no confusion. Dureni explains to Ani, without the angels to administer, feed, and intercede for our brothers and sisters who choose to make the voyage to the Western world at this time and in this fashion, none of them would make it, and God's purpose for mankind would never be fulfilled. But if he is God, Ani asked, why does he allow people to suffer to fulfill his purpose? Does that not seem a rather cruel thing for a loving God to do? Ani, my dear sister, you're missing the point. Look around you. You have experienced a transition from a body to a higher form. You were a higher form before you took a body. Do you not realize that the body is really significant? Do you not realize that the body is not no different from a child changing her delicious teeth for the permanent ones? Oh, her deciduous teeth. I'm really tired. I should probably get some sleep. Changing her deciduous teeth for her permanent ones. Don't be so hung up on the body that you left at the bottom of the sea. It is no different from a leaf falling to the ground. Deneace has more news for Ani. You have a long road ahead of you. You will take many more bodies, but for now your task is to administer to the angels who are charged with ensuring the arrival of these bodies to the Western world. It is not so much that Ani is attached to the body she has shed, as it is the pain of having lived in that body, the pain of being snatched from her family, the pain of being kicked, the pain of being shackled, the pain of being owned, the pain of being branded with a hot iron, the pain of being thrown overboard, the pain of being disposed of, no differently from the offal of gutted fish. Pain that will not leave her anytime soon. You see, the pain she felt in her human form is ever present in her current being because she is still that being. However, the pain she experiences is a choice that she had made in order to prepare her for her current and future assignments. One being in particular catches Arnie's attention, an oval light beams from his entire form as he walks towards Ani, smiling. I am Honoru. Deneace told you I would be joining you for dinner. We don't die, Ani. We just change forms, and since he was already bronze, his color remains as it was before he changed to his present form. When one assignment is done, Honori explains, we change from that form to start another assignment, and that is how we grow to the place where we spend eternity glorifying God. Now there is no such thing as boredom there, and the pain you are feeling as a result of experiencing human form will be no more. With bottle torches in hand, the two white fixtures from the deck have come to collect more of what they see as the dead. They have come to take an end of day inventory. What they see as the dead are actually standing apart from the dead, standing in the light, rejoicing at fulfilling their task, rejoicing as shackled black men are forced to remove from wooden planks what the white men see only as lost revenue. The number of corpses to be discarded causes the white man who felt the kick to question himself about the type of cargo he has chosen. He reasons with himself. Now I know they're not humans like me, but I wonder if what I'm doing to them is wrong. I know they don't feel pain as I do because they're not human, but I wonder if they feel enough to cause them real discomfort as they lie in their feces and in the feces of others while rats eat away at them while they are yet alive. I mean, they are not real human beings, after all, not like me, But I wonder if they remember how it was to be free, to walk about at their choosing. I wonder if they remember the others they called family. He looks up into what he sees as dimness, the belly of the transport beast, barely illuminated by the torches he and his partner brought to provide light during their inventory process. In an oval of light, and only for a moment, he sees the girl whom he had thrown overboard just hours ago. By the time he quickly blinks his eyes to be sure of what he is seeing, all he sees in that space is blackness. He shakes from his head what he thinks are tricks his mind is playing on him, and reasons aloud to his partner. I have been at sea too long. I feel pain. You don't feel. I smell food. You don't smell. And now I am starting to see things I know are not there. Feeling a strong desire to leave his present company, he makes his thoughts known. Let's get on with the dumping of these corpses. I need to get some sleep. I am sure that once I get a good night's rest, I will stop imagining things. The stench and the hull is something they tolerate only because they need to keep track of how many goods are being lost due to spoilage, what they would consider death if their cargo was human. Still grappling with the pain of being human, Ani cannot help but wonder why the angels do not temporarily cease their singing, their playing of musical instrument, their praying, their feeding, their comforting, and do something to change the situation of their brothers and sisters in bondage. On a spiritual level, she understands what Dureni and Honoro are teaching her, but somehow, from an intellectual perspective, she just cannot let go of the notion that her shackled brothers and sisters should be freed. I'm going to leave it there for now. Have some motherly duties to perform. My son will be coming home from work in about an hour, and I have to prepare a hot meal for him to partake of when he gets home. So if you have enjoyed this time with me, then I humbly ask that you like, share, and subscribe. I wish you Barak and Shalom.